Very brave. All right, we are YouTube live.
I was really pleased. I was really proud of her.
Okay, so have a request for the big ball. Let's grab your toys and put them next to you. We're gonna have whichever way you're facing. You guys should face in, and everybody should face the middle of the room. So you need easier. Put your balls, your little purple balls, and your strap next to the big ball. Do you do strap?
Yes, please.
All right. Ready? Hi. Okay. So, I just said Hike, it reminded me. Nobody cares on YouTube, but my mom got Wyatt football pads yesterday for his birthday. Oh my god. The kid weighs maybe 45, 50 pounds wet. He had these huge pads on, and the Eagles jersey, and the whole thing.
Oh no.
It was such a good. And he stood in his little pose with his football. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely hilarious. All right, so we're gonna start out with shoulders, and then we're gonna go into hips. I'm thinking, actually, before we go to the big ball, let's come to the mat and just warm up shoulders a little bit first, because it's fairly deep in the shoulders, and some people have a little trouble coming into this fold. Just gonna move through the shoulder girdle a little bit. No big deal. Knees as wide as the mat, toes face in, tops of the feet on the floor. Try to be one straight line from knee to inner foot. So you're really flattening the top of the ankle into the mat, and then come down onto your elbows. Elbows should be a little bit in front of the shoulders, and knees should be just a little behind the hips when you're neutral, body right in between the two. Then drop the hips, bring the shoulders forward a little more over your elbows. I'm going to want you to just drop your chest down into the shoulder girdle. You should feel like your belly can hang. You're not arching the back, you're just hanging, quite literally, into your stretch. Make sure you let the neck and head release. Think of the head like a little apple at the end of a somewhat soft stick. Not stick, that's not a good word, but
Stem.
yeah, stem or whatever. Think of your spine as being a branch of a tree that's not totally solid but wouldn't break in half with weight on the end, and really let the head drop. Your upper arm, obviously this is bone, the humerus here isn't going to bend, so if you really let your weight drop down into shoulder girdle, you'll start feeling the muscles in your chest, neck, and shoulders stretch as your ribs drop a little deeper. Just stay there. Keep letting the head drop. Keep letting the belly and hips drop too. You're not flexing the low back. You're just letting the hips hang to where they do. Then put a little bit of pressure in the palms. Pick up your fingers. Spread them out as much as you can, and then let that go. Feel how that lets some of the muscles in the chest, near the collarbone and inner shoulder, release a little bit. Do that again. Pick up the fingers, but keep the palm down. Press the palm down. And then bring your fingers all down, spread them out, let your shoulders soften. Keep a soft little bit of pressure in the hands. Try to shrug your shoulders forward to your ears. As your shoulders come up the side of the spine, lift your low belly, lift your mula bandha, just a touch. I don't want to see a big round, I just want to see muscles engage. And then let the belly hang, then drop your shoulders back away from the ears again. That's your serratus, under the shoulder blade. Do it again. Think mula bandha first, which is just a tiny, almost like a Kegel exercise for a woman. For a man, picking member up into the apple core of the body, center of the body. And then keeping that, slide the shoulders forward. Think of your shoulder, or your collarbone, drawing toward your jawline. And then let the belly go, slide the shoulders back, drop the head. Good, do that again. Little bit of mula bandha, slide shoulders forward, inhale. As you exhale, let go of mula bandha. Think of even pushing out through the perineum like you're pressing out in the pelvic floor. Then drop shoulders back. Good, now sit back a little bit. Keep the elbows stuck to the mat. Try to keep your low belly very softly drawn. Keep your elbows stuck so that your ribs drop back further. Shoulder blades sliding up the side of the rib cage. Soften the chest too here. Inhaling. And then exhale, pull through elbows to come back forward. Keep the chest low, belly low. Let the head drop. Don't pick up the back of that head. Once you're forward, so your shoulders are over your elbows, think of your elbows pulling the mat apart. Press down through elbows to pick your ribs up in the shoulder girdle. And keep the head dropped. Don't pick up the back of the head here. That flexes the muscles in the neck. Okay, then go ahead and let the head lead as you drop back down. Drop as deep as you can. If head touches the floor, that's okay. Just bring a little forward to drop deeper. One more time. Pick your ribs up in the shoulder girdle. Keeping it that high. Lift up low belly. Lift up mula bandha. Your pelvic bowl should rise a little bit so your back is rounded. Go ahead and start sitting back like that, rounded. Push through your hands a little bit, the thumb knuckles especially, to pull the ribs out of the shoulder girdle more, and then sit all the way back.
How are we doing? Feel a little bit in the chest and shoulders.
Inhale. And exhale, long and soft. Now let's keep the head on the ground. Been doing a lot of headstand prep. Roll forward on your head toward the back of the head, chin up and in. Notice if your tail tucks and shoves forward. Let that go. Keep pubic bone back. Lift your shoulders up away from your ears. Let your ribs drop toward the mat more. Okay, then slowly roll back. Use the muscles in the head. Use head pushing the ground forward a little bit, chin reaching back. So your head is motivating some of this movement. Do it again. Press into tops of feet first without tucking tail. Keep your spine flat. Then the spine starts to turn the corner at the neck and thoracic spine, not in the lumbar spine. No tucking tail and squeezing glutes to push forward. The pressure comes from tops of the feet. Lift your shoulders up away from your ears. Keep your pubic bone reaching back, and then slowly roll back. Head almost pressing the mat forward. Really good to roll over the sinus passage if you've got sinus issues. At first it doesn't feel great, but if you start learning to put more pressure in the head, it starts getting better. Helps your headstand too. One more. Little bit of pressure into the head. Pressure into the top of the feet. Feel each millimeter of the skull. Feel the actual shape and outline of your skull as you roll forward. Feel the ridge toward the back of the head when you roll far enough back. Think of your chin lifting up into the throat toward the ceiling. Lift your shoulders up away from the mat. Feel your serratus engage the muscles on the ribs, underneath shoulder girdle, underneath shoulder blade. And then drop pubic bone back, but keep the tops of the feet pressing to keep you forward. Let your ribs drop heavier. So basically it feels like your whole spine is flat except for where the cervical and the thoracic spine bend. Slowly roll back. Feel your hips reach a little further back. Good. Come back up. Let's bring your knees in so they're hip width apart. Pretty big neck and shoulder stretch. I want you guys to look up here because I don't think we've done this in class before. Don't do it yet. You're going to put your left hand in the middle of the mat. Your right arm's going to come underneath. The shoulder's going to try to come right to the middle of the mat where the hand is. And I'll talk you back through this, but what I want you to see before you get into it, the shoulder that's on the bottom catches the mat. This hand slides a little to let your head come as far forward as you can bring it into the stretch. Okay? If this hand doesn't put enough pressure and your neck isn't happy with this big a stretch, it's going to shrug a little, and now you're contracting and trying to shorten that muscle against the stretch. So this hand is keeping as much weight as you need, pushing the floor away until your head and neck get happy and say, okay, we can let a little more weight come into it. We can let a little more weight come into it. Deepening the stretch that way. If eventually you're fully in the stretch and this hand has no pressure, that's fine, but it should still be there. Okay? All right. You guys got that? That makes sense? This hand has to be active. Don't let this elbow rest. The elbow's got to be in the air. All right, here we go. Left hand pretty much in the middle of the mat, a little bit turned out, and hand ready to do some work. Stay in those knuckles. Bring your right arm underneath. Try to line up the shoulder right with the middle and catch your shoulder on the mat. Stay looking at the mat. Slide the top hand forward a little bit. Come forward, eyes gazing at the mat. You're going to come further forward, then turn your head. Put it down as far away from the shoulder as you can. Make sure the knees are under you enough, but not too far. Your spine is flat. You're not tucking your hips. That feels awful. You have opposition of pubic bone reaching back and ribs coming down. Like your chest is trying to squish your bicep here. Okay? The hand that's outstretched is taking whatever weight it needs to. Maybe it doesn't need to take any. Maybe you're trying to work that ear further forward on the mat. You should be started with your ear on the mat, and you can see physically the stretch happening as the shoulder gets pinned back. Breathe. Outer spiral the right arm a little bit, the arm that's in the mat. That means bicep should roll toward you, back of the hand very softly pressing into the mat. You're going to walk your left hand a little more to the right, just a little, more to the center or more to the right of the mat, and then start very softly pressing to the back of the right hand to turn toward the back of the head a little bit more. Once you've turned a little bit, you're almost looking under that left armpit, let the head drop further into the stretch. Feel that neck stretch deepen and change more a little bit toward the back of the neck. Okay, and you'll continue to roll to where you want to feel this stretch. But then as you go, you're gonna start feeling like your hips wanna fall across. You're gonna bring your left foot out to the side to counterbalance so you don't fall to the right, okay? Once your left foot is out there, make sure your hips aren't tucked. Your pubic bone is reaching back. There's opposition here. This hand has enough pressure to help pubic bone reach back. And then you're sliding head away from shoulder. That's your stretch. Then you can roll further if you want to. Keep walking that top hand and you'll make the stretch come more toward the back of the neck. Keep letting your head slide further from the pinned shoulder. That's where the stretch comes in. Okay, if you're here, try to shift your hips to the right a little bit. Right low belly pulling right. And then shift your hips left. Feel that right knee push right to shift the hips across to the left. Shift back to the right a little bit if you can. And then left, that same rolling through the hips we often do. Okay, heel toe your left foot a little out to the left. Roll back toward the side of the neck, ear. Keep that bottom shoulder pinned, chest coming down to it. Move your left hand back if you need to. Roll a little forward, little further toward the cheekbone. Keep the shoulder pinned, pubic bone back. And then bring your left hand back to support weight. Bring your left knee back. And then pull the hand out of it. Good. You guys feel that stretch come from the side around to the back of the neck? Yeah? Okay, second side. Left hand or right hand in the middle of the mat. Maybe a touch off to the right side, not much. Bring your left arm underneath and try to go to the point where you can catch that shoulder. Don't let the elbow rest. You lose your leverage, okay? Keeping the left shoulder caught, look at your mat. Slide forward, not slide, I guess come forward looking at the mat until the shoulder's pinned back to where you want it to be. Turn your head, feel a little stretch in the neck and then put your ear down as far forward as you think you can away from your shoulder. The top elbow's off the ground so you can have it above that hand pressing a little. That'll also roll that top shoulder blade a little back toward the spine, which we want. That's going to put the ribs down into the stretch more, down into the mat. Make sure knees are under you, but no tucked tail. Pubic bone is back. You're trying to flatten the spine down to the mat with head away from shoulder. Okay? Then you can start working that right hand a little back when you're ready, away to the left. Keep the left arm strong, outer spiraling so that bicep's rolling towards your face. And then when you're ready, you can start turning a little bit toward the back of the head, still dropping chin in and head heavy and long on the mat. Looking under that right armpit, the right elbow tries to face the ceiling more, right shoulder blade tries to slide toward the spine more, up on top of the rib cage. When you're ready, bring that right foot out to the right to counterbalance, and then you can keep working on rolling more toward the back of the head. Really feel the shoulder get pinned back. Notice if the hips have tucked under, or your left hip is really tucked. Reach your left hip back, untuck. And roll as far back into the stretch as you want. Keep letting your collarbone soften too. You can heel toe your left foot a little further if you want to roll more toward the back of the head. You can play with it how you want. Okay. Let's roll through the hips a little bit. Bring your hips a little bit to the left by dropping right hip down, using right foot to push the floor away. And then bring your hips back to the right. Left knee pushing the mat, left. Bring your hips to the right. And then left. There should be a little rolling through your hips there. That should change the stretch. Okay, let's heel toe your right foot, a little bit back to the right, and then roll toward the left ear. Try to inch it further away from the shoulder on the ground. Breathe. Take your time. And bring your right hand a little bit further. Bring the right foot a little bit further. Come more toward the cheekbone. Good. And then try to come all the way out. Make sure your heel is down on that right foot. It shouldn't be in the air. Too tense and not enough balance. Then bring your right hand back. Bring your right foot in. And bring the arm out from underneath using your right hand to put pressure. How are we doing? Neck, shoulders, chest a little bit there. Good. All right. We're going to tuck toes and do hands and feet real quick. Then we're going to go to your ball. Sit back on your heels. Walk the knees back a little bit further on the mat. Keeping the ball of the foot stuck in place. So don't let the foot slide as you walk the knee back. When you walk the knee back, you're trying to get more of your metatarsals on the mat. Then sit on your heels softly. Make sure you don't kill yourself. That should be a stretch in the feet. Excuse me. And turn your hands backwards. Or if you need to do one at a time, you can do that. The closer they are to you, the less the stretch, because this angle's not as steep. As you take it further away, that's getting to be a bigger and bigger stretch. wherever you are, come back from your biggest stretch. You have to be able to bend your elbows a little. And let's spread fingers apart too. Okay? Good. Make sure your glutes aren't squeezing together and sitting bones pulling in and everything trying to take weight out of the hands. Let all that go and sit to wherever your stretch is. If your feet are done at some point, just take them out of the stretch. Slowly roll back through the right hand. Try to keep the knuckles glued to the mat. If this is too big a stretch, by the way, you can use your orange bolster so your fingers get to come down over it instead of totally flattening the hand, right? Or you can do blocks and let your fingers drop off the back a little bit. That'll lessen the stretch. Yeah, feel the difference? Good. All right, so let's roll back through the right hand. Once you've got your knuckles to bend, the knuckles nearest the palm, let your shoulder drop. Okay, really let the shoulder release. And try to let the elbow drop down so that the forearm starts to be parallel to the mat more. Good. Feel how that deepens the stretch? And when you come forward, keep your elbow low for as long as you can, and then roll the base of the hand down. Good. Let's do that again. Peel your elbow back low. Good. And then roll forward. It's different if you've never done it. It's actually really important we do a lot of the hands. The more you have a traditional class with a down dog resting posture, the more you need to make sure you stretch your hand. All right, one more time. Roll all the way back. Slide it out in front. Keep fingers bending back, and then come off the foot stretch. Pick up your hips, roll down through the hand. You're going to put a little pressure in it. Try to bring your cheek toward the bicep of that hand. Center your body a little more over that shoulder. The left hand has very little weight. That elbow can bend easy. And you're going to try to drop your chest down into the shoulder girdle. The shoulder blade should feel like it's going to stick up a little bit off the spine. You should feel a neck stretch there. Keep your elbow from locking. Good. If it's too much, don't put that much weight over it. Good. You guys feel that neck stretch too? To help feel the neck stretch deeper, you can bring the top of the head to touch left, chin to touch right. The stretch should be kind of in the side of the neck. Okay, press through knuckles, pick the ribs back up. Roll back out of the hand slowly. One finger at a time, peeling off the mat and come to knuckles. Okay, so don't squish fingers in. Keep fingers flat so you're not trying to break that top knuckle. Okay, and then put that hand flat, or you can put it back in the stretch when we do side two. It's up to you. If you're done with that hand, be done. Roll back through your left hand slowly, peeling the knuckles back. Elbow stays low toward the mat to try to get that parallel to the ground look and feel. Hips stay released, don't tighten. And then roll back down through the hand. Keep the elbow low for as long as you can. Do it again. Roll back. If your feet get tired, you can come out of that stretch, or you can sit on a block or 2 blocks even, right? Okay. Roll back through the stretch with your hand. Play with it. Go slow. If you feel some spots where you get stuck, stay there for a second. Explore that. Maybe move the elbow out to the side to come more toward index knuckle, or in to come more toward pinky. If you can't move your elbow side to side, you're frozen in the collarbone in the front of the shoulder. You gotta unlock that and let that shoulder hang down, just like we did on the other side. Okay, let's slide it out in front now. Just fingers bending back. Roll through the hand, come off the feet. Okay, bring your body weight a little more centered over that left hand. Let the head fully drop. Cheek is very close to your left bicep. Then drop into the left shoulder blade. Feel how that shoulder blade comes up away from the spine. Think about watching those big cats walk on Animal Planet or Discovery Channel or whatever. Think about that shoulder blade really disconnecting from the spine. Collarbone in the front should feel like a necklace wrapping around the front of the neck. That's releasing too. You want to deepen the stretch in the side of the neck, bring the top of the head a little right, chin a little left. Like you're cocking your head to one side. And then press through the hand and knuckles to bring it back up. Go ahead and sit back slow, roll out of the hand, come to knuckles with both hands now. Thumb out in front. Good, how are we doing? Yeah, does it help with the bolster? Yeah, a little better. Okay, so if this is just too deep a stretch and it's excruciating, you gotta modify it, either the bolster or blocks, whatever works. All right, let's flatten the hands back out. Okay, little different. Pick up the wrist, bending at the knuckles. Okay, now, pretty much everybody's keeping the wrist really flat. I want you to try to drop the shoulder back, bend your elbow, and make the wrist bend and protrude forward a little bit. That's hard for a lot of you. So the way to do it is to keep your elbow in, so it's behind the wrist, shoving it forward. Okay, if this is really hard for you to do, there's an incredibly large chance that in your down dog, you're really compressing the wrist and the knuckles are bubbled, which is bad. That's going to compress this joint,
probably put you into neck and shoulders. You want a little forward shift. You don't actually pick up the base of the wrist, but you want the weight much more in the knuckles, almost like you have a little space, little energetic space under the palm, under the wrist. Serratus pulling back. When your chest drops back, you really keep those serratus engaged, and then you shift into the knuckles. See how the base of the wrist has much less weight? And that gives you, that little adjustment gives you a lot of ability to make fine-tuning movements in the shoulders and lift your hips more, keep ribs in line, whatever. If you sit into the wrist, all of it starts to collapse down, okay? So just the coordination, and this will stretch your wrist for you, right? And this goes the other way, which we'll do in a minute. But just the coordination, being able to use the strength of the hand, wrist forward, elbow behind it. You got it. There. Okay, keep your elbow in. That is also that outer spiral through the glenohumeral joint that we want, right?
It's a natural thing to do that.
Yeah, if you don't do that, it's actually really hard to make the shape in the wrist. Well, you can still do it. All right. Okay, so we got that feeling? There, you got it. Okay, everybody found it. Put that wrist forward. It's a bigger stretch, yeah, in your hand. You can't lead with shoulder. If shoulder passes wrist, it won't happen. Shoulder is back. Elbow is in. Elbow is what's pushing you into the stretch. If your wrist won't bend this way, this stretch that we do has your name all over it. Okay, so let's go from here, come into this stretch. And if this is too much, instead of having fingers face you with back of the hand on the mat, turn so fingers face in. That's fine too. It's a lot less of a stretch. If this is like, it's not so hard, start graduating slowly toward here. So maybe you're hybrid, maybe you're just diagonal, right? Get a stretch though, coming over the wrist. Okay, again, you can use your bolster, it's less of an angle, maybe some less pressure. Wherever you're at, I want you to pull your shoulder up and back from the serratus, elbow rolling in behind it more. Maybe the wrist has to lift off the mat pretty significantly for you to get that elbow in. That's fine, that's just where you are.
Elbow rolls this way.
Elbow rolls, it's an outer spiral in the arm, so eye of the elbow is facing forward, tip of the elbow is facing back to you.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're going to bend the elbow back. If you're in a diagonal, your elbow kind of bends in. It's it's a little awkward, to be honest. And then roll back. And then roll back into it, keeping the elbow low, the shoulder loose, okay, but a little roll back, and try to find your stretch there. And then roll back. If you're just sideways, you may just want to work on dropping into the shoulder blade and picking it back up and just getting used to having some weight there. All right, come out of that one. Do the second side. Bend at the knuckles. Elbow hugs in and comes right behind the wrist, forearm parallel to the sides of your mat, and your elbow behind the wrist is what drives the wrist forward and gives you that stretch in your hand. We got it. Good. It's a big stretch, right?
Yeah.
And it's different somehow than this.
Yeah, this is much better than doing this.
Yeah.
I like
It's a
this
different
one.
angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're finding it. Okay, Dorothy, your wrist is still really flat. Try to drop the shoulder more and come a little more behind. There, you got it. Feel that wrist lift up? Better and different. I'd rather see your low body more released, sitting on heels or sitting on blocks. That will help you. There, now your wrist is bending more. Better, much better. Okay, slowly lower the hand back down and then see if you can lift it right back up into that spot. Face forward. There we go. Yeah, that's totally better. Feel the difference? Good, and then bring it back. One more time. These are wrist lifts. So when you get better at them, you'll do them with a little more weight in your hands. The further you sit back, the less weight in the hands, the easier it is. The more weight you come forward, the heavier it is in your hands. You can't do this from the neck. You've got to keep shoulders pinned back, and eventually you can do it from your down dog. Some people can even do it in plank, which I can kind of cheat at, but it's not quite it. All right, so let's turn this hand over. Palm facing the ceiling. Either fingers facing you, which is deeper, or some lesser variation thereof as the wrist turns to the side, the stretch lessens, right? Don't let it go all the way forward. That's not it. The fingers have to try to face you more. So turn it, yeah, there we go. Okay, and then shoulder rolls up and back, elbow pulling in. Bend your elbow straight back. It's the same angle on the wrist, right? Try to feel the knuckles nearest the palm into the mat there. And then roll it forward. If you're not in the right angle to roll the wrist, or roll elbow back, and you're just out to the side, you can bring weight over it and just drop into the shoulder blade. Bring it back up. You can close hand into a fist. Open it back up. You can bend your elbow a little back. It's not going to deepen the stretch much because you're sideways, right? All right. Everybody go ahead and roll out of that stretch. Good. All right. Come to hands flat. Either sitting here. Let's try it sitting here. Keep your shoulders back and your arms outer spiral so your biceps face forward. Okay. Now see if you can press into your knuckles to lift your wrists up. I want to see those wrists bend forward. So I know you're in your hands. Yeah, shoulders back, wrists forward. Then bring it down. Thumbs grab the mat, okay, toward each other, and you slowly come down. Thumbs really unwilling to slide forward. And the palm keeps a little pocket of air in there. Good, you guys feel that? Do it again. Wrists up, elbows in, and shoulders back. Yeah? Thumbs grab the mat, try to make them parallel to the top of your mat. And as your hand comes down, your thumb slides wide, like it's doing a split away from your index finger. Good. Now keep the hand strong and that bubble of air under your palm. You feel that? That is how your hands should feel when they're weight bearing. You feel the difference?
Yeah.
You're not in your wrists at all. Your hands are really active. Okay, now I suggest when you are in your down dog that you first find your serratus almost in a half plank. That's pulling shoulders away from ears. Then keeping that, you drop back. Then keeping that, you shift into the front of the knuckles. If you start shifting into the front of the knuckles a lot, too much, you want to start to roll the shoulders forward and bring weight forward, then you go into your neck. So opposition, the hard part of it and the good part of it is that you're pulling in opposite directions. So which do you establish first is always big. So let's try your down dog. Hands flat. Okay. Shoulders shrug to your ears. I would rather it be from your chest where you've got your ribs a little up in the shoulder girdle and then your shoulder blades come forward from the pecs and the collarbone coming forward. If you have to, the only way you can do it is in your neck, and it is what it is. But try to bring your shoulders forward with your ribs a little lifted up in the shoulder girdle. Right? Then from there, outer spiral arms. Okay, now when you bring shoulders back, I want you to feel serratus. I want you to feel that broadening across your collarbone, and your ribs will sink a little. They don't sink all the way. Good. Feel serratus, pull shoulders back. Now keeping serratus, it also kind of pulls you into your wrists more, right? That's that when I'm talking about the opposition. Keeping serratus, can you shift back into a flat knuckles with the strength of your hand? Feel that a little bit? Okay, let go of the hands. Let the knuckles bubble, I don't care. Just find the serratus pulling back. Don't worry about hands right now, I don't even care if fingers are bubbled up. Now tucking toes, keep serratus pulled back. Don't lose that feeling when you pick up your hips. Stay forward, don't drop right back to down dog, you can let your head drop. Keeping your serratus pulled back. As you drop back, if you keep serratus, hands get heavy. Serratus get hard to hold. Then let your head drop, feel how your fingers are bubbled. Keeping serratus, can you use the strength of the hand to shift forward into the knuckle? Now that you've got less weight there, it's actually easier to shift forward in the hand a little bit. How are we doing? You guys feeling this in your hands a little bit? Once you get those knuckles flat, you've got a lot more control. You can lift your ribs up in the shoulder girdle, you can drop them further back. There's just a lot more you can do in the shoulder blades. Okay, from here, let's take your right leg straight back. Okay, and then drop your right hip down below the left. Let the leg drop a little, but mostly I want the hip to drop. Think of that right leg inner spiraling, so your right knee faces left, and the right frontal hip, the right pelvic bowl bone, is trying to face in towards your left groin. Keeping that, use your hands, don't shrug shoulders, pull them back. Shift your hips and chest back as far as you can, and drop your right top of the foot to the mat as far back as you can on the mat. Once that right hip drops, pull your left hip back more, like you're twisting your left buttocks back. Good, feel that stretch in your left hip? Okay, bring the right leg up a little. Now lift out of your left low belly, roll your right hip on top of the left. Good, and then drop your chest back deeper to lift the right leg higher. Good. Go ahead and drop your leg a little bit first until it's about parallel with the ground. Then roll your right hip all the way down. Feel your knuckles, spread the shoulders, feel like your hands are pulling apart, and then elbows pull back in. Good, one more time, bring the leg up just to level. Then push through your left foot, roll the right hip up, drop your chest back further, and then pull shoulders back. Feel your serratus, then find knuckles again. Pushing the floor away. Good. Drop it back down, roll the right hip down. Try to touch the floor as far back as you can. Good, this time, come high on your left toes. Lift the right leg just to level, then keep it that way. Then push through your left foot, roll the right hip up on top of the left. Drop your chest back deeper. Think of your ribs tipping down below the pelvic bowl, and then slowly lower left heel, get that big hamstring stretch. And then bring the right hip down. Very good. How are we doing? Feel a little difference in the hands when you do it that way? It's harder, it's hard to find, but that's what they should be doing. Very separate.
All right, we're just gonna do the other foot. If you're kind of done with doing some of this, you can do it on the ground. So when we do the hips, you can keep your leg low to the ground here and drop right hip below the left
Okay.
on the ground, okay? And then when you roll the hip up, it feels like the knee pushes into the ground instead of the foot. And don't pick the leg up high, right? That's glute, that's gluteus medius, whatever it's called, the side here, picking up the leg. That's not it, and especially if your pelvic bowl is up, now you're picking up the leg against that. If your ribs drop, pelvic bowl drops, then the leg pops up easy and lighter, because that's the direction the tailbone's already facing, right? So you don't want to fight yourself in any of these postures. All right, here we go. Tuck toes, shoulders back. If you have to shrug them forward first to disengage serratus, to then feel the serratus engage as you pull back, then do that. Once you got serratus engaged, reach the pubic bone back a little. Outer spiral arms so biceps face forward, pick up the hips. Okay, before you come backwards, make sure those serratus are engaged. As you come back, it challenges you to keep your serratus. Once you're there, drop your head, shift weight a little into knuckles with your hands, with strength of the hand. Pick your left leg up, keep it pretty low. Reach through the inner right foot, lift your right low belly, roll that left hip on top of the right by pushing through the right foot. You can't drag from your ribs and hope the hip will follow. When you drag from ribs, pelvic bowl comes up and now you're doing that glute thing lifting against you. So you want to drop the ribs, lift low belly, roll your left hip on top of the right, drop ribs even deeper to help you drop pelvic bowl and feel that tipping feeling of the leg coming up. Push into your right toes to come higher. Good. Tip a little further back. Hands push forward to get you bigger into that shoulder stretch. Lower your right heel slowly. Drop your left hip down below the level of the right hip. Let the leg drop toward the floor too, but I want the hip to drop. Once your left hip drops, the right hip, once that left hip is hanging, can easily pull back away from the ribs here. Get that feeling. Okay, and then you can lift left leg a little with that left knee facing right. Push into your right foot, lift your right low belly, roll the left hip up, drop your ribs back, pelvic bowl down to tip the leg higher. High into the right toes. Lower the heel slowly, tipping your ribs back, and then slowly lower your left hip down lower than the right. Try to touch the foot to the ground as far back as you can. Once top of the foot rests, hug your right hip back further. Good. All right, and come back down. Good. All right, let's compare it to the knees on the ground. I did promise red ball and we got a little sidetracked, but we'll come to that too. All right, keeping your right elbow on the mat, forearm parallel to the side of the mat, just outside of the shoulder. Okay. Then your right foot's going to go just outside of the knee. The knee is just inside the shoulder under the right hip. Take your left foot back, tuck your toes. Use your right elbow pushing the mat forward a little bit to drop your left heel back. Then push to the left toes. Roll all the way over the toes. You'll feel some weight coming to that right arm. Pull back with the left toes and come back. Good. Let's do that one more time. Make sure you're not stacking your left hip up high. Drop your left hip down. Come forward. Come back. All right, now I want you to feel the same concept we just felt. Put the top of the left foot on the mat. Lean left, bend your left elbow just a little bit. You're going to feel a lot of weight in that left hand. Keep letting your left hip drop below the level of the right, and it'll get really easy to hug your right hip back. Left hip down, it's too high. Left hip down, not just the leg. Okay? Now push into the right foot, lift the low belly, roll the left hip on top of the right. That first initial lift should come from low belly, from the psoas inside the pelvic bowl. Keep the leg dropped. I don't need glute lift and leg up. I want leg dropped so you feel a little stretch through the top side. Okay? Now shift your weight forward, drop into the right shoulder blade. Feel your ribs drop, feel the pelvic bowl drop, and the leg tips up a lot easier. That's that tipping feeling I'm trying to get you guys to get. Now drop the leg down. See, feel how it starts to pull your pelvic bowl up. Then the ribs pop up out of that shoulder blade really easy. Lift the ribs. Yeah, pick your ribs up. There you go. You guys feel that? Drop back into the right shoulder blade. Come forward. Tip the ribs forward. Pelvic bowl dropping with the leg. Open toes. Good. Then drop the leg. Pelvic bowl will lift. Push through the elbow. Lift your shoulder blade. Lift your ribs out of the shoulder blade. Good. Now just come to neutral. Roll your left hip down inside the right. Good. More. Keep dropping the hip. Keep dropping the hip. Not just the leg. That's it. And come on down. Switch. How are we doing? You guys starting to feel this a little more? A little different? Right hand to the mat. right foot back, tuck the toes. Bend your right elbow out to the side. Okay. Your left knee's right under the left hip, left toes are a little out to the left. Push through your left elbow to drop back through that right heel. Push through the toes of the right foot, resisting it with left elbow a little, roll over the toes. And then come all the way back. Notice if your right hip is tipped up and your hips are facing the right mirror. Drop that right hip down. I shouldn't see the front of your left hip. Roll forward over the toes. Bring it all the way back. Good. Keep your head dropped too. Don't let that lift too much. Okay, now put the top of the right foot on the ground. See how far back on your mat you can slide that right foot. That helps a lot of people drop the right hip. Now, if you are really hell-bent on sitting into your left hip, you're going to lean left. You're going to feel like you're falling on your left butt cheek, right? That is not it. You got to lean right. You're going to take some weight in the right hand. You're going to let that right hip go wide and right and then drop down. So you actually feel a little hanging out of the SI joint between the hips. Okay, go ahead and take the foot off the ground, but keep the hip low. Push into left knee. Lift the left low belly. Start by literally pushing the ground away with left knee. And then roll the right hip on top of the left. Keep your leg low though. Okay. Then shift your weight forward, drop into the left shoulder blade. Left shoulder blade coming toward the spine. And then tip the pelvic bowl down to bring the leg up. Then drop the leg down. See how the weight of the leg helps lift the pelvic bowl, then lift ribs back up. Just do that one more time. Come forward, drop into the shoulder blade. Bring your ribs forward, tilting pelvic bowl down, makes it easy to lift the leg. Drop the leg, pelvic bowl lifts, pick up out of left shoulder blade. Good, now stay like that, roll your right hip down. There we go, better. Good, you guys feel that a little bit? All right, good, one more time, push through left knee, roll the right hip up. Good, tip forward, drop into the left shoulder blade. Lower belly drops, ribs drop, and the leg shifts up high. That's that tipping feeling. Good, let the leg come down, it tips pelvic bowl up. Ribs can come out of shoulder blade easy. Good, and then come to neutral. Drop the hip down. Good, how are we doing? When the right hip really drops below the left, you can hug the left hip back away from ribs easier. Good, bring it in.
All right, very nice. You guys getting that rolling through the hips? It's the same thing when we do your standing rolling through the hips with the blocks or whatever. When the back hip rolls forward, it drops so the front hip can hug back further. Same idea, just a different way of doing it. All right, you should be plenty warm. Let's come to your ball. Okay. Turn around. All right, and you should have your purple balls, little 2-pound balls in your strap by you. All right, when you sit with the ball behind your back, you want to try to bear some skin in your lumbar spine, the low back, because we're going to do some spinal flexibility. We're going to try as much as we can to roll the spine forward at certain points off the ball. And I want you to be able to come off the ball with your upper back, your thoracic spine, and still be stuck. Plus, if you really get it into the low back, it supports your spine better. Okay? Then you can push into your hands, lift hips a little, walk your feet a little closer. They should be about as wide as the mat, and then hips come down and you feel like you're lodged between the floor and the ball. We good? Everybody stuck? Yeah? Okay. Now, I don't want your knees inside your feet. So if having your feet as wide as the mat means your knees can't be open as much as your feet are, then it's too wide. Open your feet as wide as you can with still being able to open your knees, at least in line with the second or third toe. Yeah? All right, good. Let's start out with elbows between the knees. Just softly bringing the hands down into prayer, pulling these further apart into that little bit of a groin stretch. Notice if your tail is really tucked under, try to keep your tail stuck to the floor and let the ball push your pelvic bowl forward a little bit into a soft little bend, little back bend. Roll your shoulders back, opening your chest, spread your fingers, inhale. Exhaling, use the right knee to push the whole conduit left. The prayer pushes left knee left. Left elbow really press its inner left knee left. And try to roll that left shoulder forward towards your prayer. Get it in front of the elbow to push the knee wider. Feel that groin open more. Good. Soften your hip. It's not trying to help pull the knee out. Bring it back to center. Left knee pushes the whole prayer conduit right to push the right knee away. Then keep the right elbow really pressing into the knee. Roll right shoulder forward inside of it. So that as the right shoulder comes forward, you can press the elbow further away with the knee. Or press the knee further with the elbow, I guess it is. Bring it back to center. One more each side, right knee pressing left. Left knee ends up dropping open a little bit. You can even roll to outer foot a little. Let your foot go with the hip. Roll the shoulder inside the elbow to press a little wider. And come back up. Left knee pushes right.
Right knee open. You can even roll tower foot a little. Roll right shoulder inside, pressing it wider, and come back to the middle. Good. Let's go with hands behind the head, interlace the fingers. Good. And then start coming forward off your ball with a pretty flat thoracic spine. That's your upper back where the ribs are. Okay. Keep that pretty flat. Think about extending the top 4 ribs open and forward. And then your break point is the middle belly, the transverse abs between pelvic bowl and ribs. That's where you start your round. Drop your head. Start your breath. Inhale. As you exhale, your feet can really softly press the mat forward to roll sitting bones under you more. And then lift pelvic floor just a touch. Keep reaching the shoulder blades forward. Okay, push the mat by your feet a little bit. Lift Mula Bandha. Do a cable exercise or picking the member up into the core. Then lift middle abs. Then lift upper ribs. Roll all the way back and lay over the ball. Good. Now don't shrink the neck and try to touch the head of the ball. Head doesn't need to touch. Your hands are supporting your head. Your serratus are wrapped around. Elbows in your peripheral vision. Press with feet to roll back on the ball. Once your hips lift, your head may be able to drop. And see if you can roll all the way back to straighter legs. Good. If you're trying to lift your hips up off the ball, this doesn't work. You've got to let the tailbone drop heavy into the ball. Toes can be soft. Maybe you can come off the ground. And then slowly coming forward, bend your knees. Hips stay riding along the line of the ball, whole spine does. When hips touch the mat, hold just your head up first from serratus. Head is dead weight in your hands. From the muscles under the armpit and shoulder blade, bring the head forward. Then use middle abs to lean the body forward. Come long first. Don't crush those top few ribs together. Keep those open and make the bend happen where your spine is the most flexible in the lumbar spine, in the low back, between rib cage and pelvis, where there's no major structure to stop you from bending the spine. Think of shrugging shoulders a little bit, hopefully from the chest, hopefully by bringing the collarbone a little forward. Inhale here. Exhale long and even. And then start rolling up, pressing through your feet, lift low belly. Then lift middle abs to support lumbar spine. Then ribs draw a little in. And roll all the way back. When you lay over your ball, keep the neck long. Let it follow the rest of the line of the spine. Press into feet. Hips stay in your ball. No tucking, lifting hips up here. Stay at the top of the ball. Knees still a little bent, hips dropped. Bring your shoulder blades down the sides of the body. Bring your head up. Just the head comes. Let your hips drop more. Head is up. Hips are dropped. Good. Now bring your hips up off the ball. Good. Now let them drop back down. Now let your head drop all the way back. Roll back on your ball as far as you can comfortably. Let the hips release. Breathe. Okay, bend your knees until your feet come flat if they're not. Keep your knees open and your hips dropping into the ball. Use the serratus to bring your head up. Gonna come a little higher this time. This time, try to keep the ribs pretty flat. Pick up the whole rib cage and suck middle abs back. It's almost like you're pushing the ball forward to suck your belly up into the ball. And then round forward in the lumbar spine. Elbows trying to reach the thighs. And breathe. Slowly roll back, low belly lifting out of the pelvic floor. One vertebrae at a time over the ball. And then going away all the way back, release your hips. Lay back. You should be back until legs are almost straight. Hips are totally supported on the ball. Good. Bend the knees until the feet go flat. Open your knees. Drop your hips heavy in the ball. Use serratus under the armpits to pull up on the head. Serratus pulling down the body. You put pressure from hands to head. Keep coming up until your head's up. Keep your hips dropped. They should be resting on the ball. Bring the whole rib cage up. Then think of middle abs drawing back. Come up and forward like you're coming a little up and over something. And then trying to pull back with middle abs. See how far forward you can get elbows. Feet are still pressing the floor away. Mula Bandha picking up like you're going to roll up the slope of the ball. And then unwind slowly. As your upper body drops back, your hips drop down. Release the hips. You only need to push the floor away a little bit. Good. And then bend the knees, come all the way forward. When sitting bones touch, then you bring your head up. Then bring the ribs forward off the ball. Come as far forward off your ball as you can. Rounding. If you lose the ball, it's okay. You've got a real flexible spine, you may. If you're still stuck to your ball, that's fine. Breathe. If you can get your knees or elbows inside or if you can get your shoulders or elbows inside your knees, Hug in on that. Lift the middle abs and see if you can't round a little further forward. Okay. Now lean your body a little toward the right groin. Reach your right shoulder blade, right elbow further forward. And then let that go. Lean a little toward your left groin. Reach your left elbow, left shoulder blade further forward off the back. Let it go. Come to the middle. Reach them both. And then let that go. Slowly roll up your ball, low belly. Then middle abs. Then the next one. All the way back. Good. How we doing? Go ahead and roll back. Last one. This time, I want you to let go of the head and roll back as far as you can with arms reaching back. Stretch. Inhale. Exhale, long and soft. One more breath. Okay, let's interlace the fingers, make a little yoga gun. Sorry if you don't like the word gun. Bend your knees until your feet go flat to the floor. So if you have to push off your ball a little bit, you can. But keep the knees bending with the knees apart. If you're squeezing them in, you're in the front of the hips. Let your hips drop. And come just till you're on top of your ball. Head draped over, hips draped down. Bring your gun to the ceiling. Outer spiral arms, slide the shoulder blades off the back. Keep dropping the gun forward until it feels natural to let your head pop up. Then slide your shoulder blades off the back, pull middle abs into the ball, roll your ball back, and bring your shoulder blades more forward. Good, how are we doing? Okay. Slide shoulder blades back, get longer in your core. Don't lay back all the way. Try to bring your hands back behind you. Keep your core engaged. Head should be through the arms. If you feel your neck at all, you want to lay down. That's not it. And then bring the arms forward. Feel the core there? Yeah? Slide shoulder blades forward off the back. Okay, really reach through the thumb side of the hand so your fingers point down a little. And then bring it up. Keep reaching. Get that inner shoulder to release where collarbone comes up. Keep pubic bone forward as you take your arms back. Breathe. And then bring it back up. Good job. Point forward. Push with feet to roll up the ball. Reach shoulder blades further forward off the back. Suck your belly back into the ball. Good. And then go ahead and bring your hands to your head. Lay back over your ball one more time. You can either reach the hands out or you can keep the hands behind the head. And then bend your knees. Slowly come all the way down the ball. Good. All right. Grab your yellow strap. Shoulders. Okay. Hold on to your yellow strap. To start, we'll hold about mat width. Some of you may be wider. Wider is going to be a little less of a stretch. Some of you may be more narrow. You're going to hold on with your thumb inside your strap, fingers outstretched, and then rotate so the back of the hand faces toward each other. So that's an inner spiral in your shoulder, and it makes it more likely that you can lift your collarbone up away from the rib cage a little bit in the front of the shoulder. Okay, so that collarbone attaches into scapula. If you keep your pecs locked, which your pecs are a muscle that attach to the rib cage, the collarbone, and swing out to the humerus nephron. If you keep this all locked, and then hope your shoulder blades get in the roof, good luck. You're really fighting yourself. So you're going to reach forward, not to the point where the neck collapses, keep that lifted, but until you feel your chest disengage, so your collarbone actually comes off the ribs a little bit. You can actually hold on to it. It's a little weird. Once you feel that, lift up, keep the collarbone released, head is forward, pull out a little. As you roll back, your inner shoulder rolls back. Good. You should go to roll all the way through the joint. If you get stuck, you may need to widen the hands. So come back up, lift Mula Bandha, little pressure in your feet. Come all the way up. How are we doing? If you have to make any weird adjustments to get through your range of motion, you need to widen your hands. Okay? And notice those weird adjustments. Your shoulder's trying to skip something in your range of motion. Slide shoulder blades forward, lift collarbone up. Chin in a little. As the hands come up, keep that lift. Lift your low belly. Keep your spine, upper spine off the ball. Reach back, pulling hands apart a little bit. Good. When you come back up, feel inner shoulder, collarbone. That has to start to roll. How are we doing? Yeah? Okay? Everybody's alive? Nobody's talking to me. Slide forward, pick it up, and then take it back. As your shoulder blades come together behind the ribs, that chest has to let go. Bring it back, open it forward. So to open your chest, also, you have to go to open the front of the shoulder. Okay? Good. All right, let's play with one at a time. You're going to bring your strap back right before you would normally roll into the joint if we were going to complete it. And bring your left hand down to the ground and fully rest your weight into that hand. Maybe you need to widen your grip. If so, go ahead and do that. Once you're resting the hand into the mat, fairly close to you, so you feel like you're a little on top of it, bring the right arm forward, right shoulder blade reaching off the back so you clear your knee. Your knee should be between the hand and the strap. Now we're going to roll through one shoulder. As you pick it up, feel that arm inner spiral so your collarbone rolls off the ribs. Then you let your head rest on the bottom shoulder. Open up the chest. Pull with the serratus of the right arm to open up. Good. And then rolling back. Feel that inner shoulder roll. Collarbone's got to be mobile here. You guys feel in the front of the shoulder?
Boy, mine's ticking like crazy.
You feel some grinding in there, some scar tissue?
It's just tick, 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 tick.
A little bit, that's good, that's fine. You want to move through that. That could be synovial fluid that's been undisturbed, could be a little bit of scar tissue because you're locking that up. Could be connective tissue getting tight. Good. Go ahead and roll it open. Yep. And then as you roll back forward, feel the collarbone. Yeah. You can either do this letting the head rest on the bottom shoulder or resting back between shoulder blades. Or if that doesn't feel good, keep your head down. Let the shoulder blade roll and feel how the shoulder blade separates from the spine, including the cervical spine. Keeping the head forward. And try that. Keep it dropped as you roll up and back. Okay. How are we doing? You guys feeling that rolling through the shoulder joint? Yeah? Okay. And really make it come from the serratus in the underarm too. In the ribs really, right? Underneath that shoulder blade. Good. All right, let's do side two. Bring the arms up and back. Just before you normally roll through the joint, take it out to your right. Right hand is going to come to the mat. Bring it kind of close to you so you can kind of lean into it a little bit so you're on top of it. And bring the left arm forward with that shoulder blade spreading off the back, coming away from your spine. And then keep an inner spiral in the hand, in the shoulder, so that the back of the hand faces in and the collarbone rolls up and forward, chin in. Reach up and back, opening the chest, rolling through your shoulder. Yep. And then bring it back. Feel that inner shoulder roll. Make sure your collarbone's getting open. Try keeping head in as you roll. Okay. Make sure you feel the rolling, and it's the whole shoulder blade. Even up here where your shoulder blade comes near cervical spine. Shoulder blade's way down here and up here. It's like a fan. Think of it like a little, those fans you fan out. Think of it like that shape. And make sure you get the entire thing mobilized. And collarbone, right? Collarbone is going to help mobilize the front shoulder area.
Oh my gosh. That,
It's talking?
oh yeah.
In a good way?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just two more. Open up. Really move through it. Alright, how are we doing?
Good.
Yeah? Shoulders? Alright, go ahead and take your strap. If you were really wide, wider than the mat, then lessen the width of your strap. If you were about mat width or maybe less, you'll be fine. Once your hands come behind your head, once your strap comes behind your head, you should be able to see your hands. This is not like your peripheral vision, it's the top of the eyes, but they're not too far in front of you. Elbows are in, which they won't want to be, and hands are out. Elbows in means you're hugging the bottom of the shoulder tip in. Hands out means you're opening collarbone, top of the shoulder out more, not too wide. Yep. Forearms should be parallel, all the way from elbow tip to fingers. Press through the feet to come to the top of the ball. Lay back first, but keep a little pull from the hands as you do. Don't reach your chin to the ceiling, keep the chin in. Okay, then keep the feet flat on the floor. Pull the head up from the serratus, from underneath the arms. Get feet flat, get your feet to be flat so you can hold, yeah. And then keep pulling the back of the head forward. Drop your chin in and back, like you're going to scoop the cervical spine back. You should feel pretty decent stretching your neck here. Bring your head forward more. There we go, that. There you go. The pulling comes from elbows reaching forward, which should be serratus, right? Breathe. Slowly roll back, but keep your chin back, neck back, like the back of the neck is flattening toward the ground. And open your ribs as you lay back. Keep a little tension there, keeping your neck on. Okay, you can roll further back if you want. And then come forward again when you're ready, feet flatten. Bring the head up by pulling from serratus, from underneath armpits. Head comes forward, chin dropping back into your own Adam's apple, into your throat. Suck the belly down. Let your hips drop first. Roll all the way back. Feel how hips dropping deepens the stretch in the cervical and thoracic spine.
the leg straighten if you want. And then last one, feet come flat, pull your head up first. Keep your hips dropped. I want you to feel your tailbone and low back into the ball. Don't let them tuck. You bring your head as far forward here as you want without losing. And then rolling back, hips drop. As ribs drop back. Good. Take the strap off your head when you're all the way back, resting. Turn so palms face out. Bring your arms up, chin up, round forward. You can either just keep heels stuck to the mat, or if you feel more secure with your whole foot flat, you can do that. Front shoulder blades off the back, really reaching forward and pull out to the sides. Back of the hands face in. Good. Let your hips drop down if they're tucked. Yes, and your lumbar spine wrap along the ball. Try to roll all the way through your joint here, keeping head and neck free. Don't lay back, don't put it in the neck. And then roll forward. So widen your hands to your place, wherever that was before. Shoulder blades slide forward. Feel that collarbone lift. Reach up, suck the belly down. Roll all the way through the joint here. How are we doing? There's a lot of stabilization in the core. Bring it back. Good. Push a little further back. Let your head drop back to level. Reach your arms back behind the head. Just feel the core. And then let it release all the way down. Let it go. Let everything go. Good. Bend your knees. Keep the hands just draped back there. Slowly drop the hips to the mat. When the hips are dropped, bring your hands to your head. Bring the head back up, and then bring the strap to the back of the head one more time. Rounding forward. Softly pulling. I'm losing my ball because I roll so far forward. And you're going to try to come forward. You may choke up on your strap if you've got a big enough stretch. Chin in, top of the head into the mat. If that's just too easy because you've got a bigger stretch, go from hands to head. Start going back. Good. Very good. All right, roll it back up. How are we going? Yeah? Awesome. Okay. All right, now you can cover the low back if you want, or leave it open, whatever. But now it's really helpful to have some, like a tank top, some skin showing in the upper back. If you don't, I don't know, figure it out. Let's say, roll forward. You want to get your, maybe you can get your neck stuck to the ball so it'll stay. But you want to get your upper back a little bit stuck to the ball. You should be able to pick your head up and have it be pretty loose and not strained, like it's very upright over the thoracic spine. You should also be able to lay it back, like you're on the beach. Okay, if it's totally impossible, the size of the ball may be coming into play. These are 65-inch balls for the most part, and depending on your height, you want the right size ball. All right, so now your lumbar spine is loose. Your low back is hanging. Your tailbone should be further forward. There we go. So your tail's under, so this can hang into some space here. Yeah? Okay, good. All right, then bring your hands back behind you like we do when we do shoulder stretches on the block. Then work the hands back with shoulder heads rolled forward a bit. Okay? We'll lean to the left hand first. Really lean left. Your right hand can come closer and start pressing you over there. Roll that shoulder head forward with elbow coming wide. That's going to pull the shoulder blade off the back, and if you soften your ribs down, your collarbone can roll forward a little. So that shoulder stretch touch. Okay, not the main point. From here, let's go ahead and drop your left knee in. Lift your outer left foot. So your foot's not fighting as your knee drops, but it tries to stay flat. That'll be bad. Lift the outer foot. Roll the hip forward. Now keep reaching the hip forward. Go ahead and let your head lay back. You can let the shoulder roll a little bit back. And try to feel space between the pelvic bowl and the rib cage here. Yeah? Feel that stretch coming up through the psoas? Yes? We good? Okay, you should possibly feel a little stretch in the inner knee too. That's okay. You do want to stretch tendons in the knee. Okay, if you want to go deeper, you can cross that right ankle over the left knee to try to help pull it down a little bit. Make sure you're sending ribs left. Yeah? Good. Okay. Uncross the leg. Slowly roll it back up. Good. Now start with upper body. Stay in the middle with low body. Hips are released. We're going to try this. Push into your feet a little. It should drop your pelvic bowl further back and down to the ground if you have the right position. Then pull with your feet a little. Roll to the almost toward the sitting bone. Yep. And then roll the low back under. Yeah. Yes. There we go. And then forward. How are we doing? You guys feeling that? Keep it rolled under for this. Okay. It will get pulled forward a little as the knee goes across, but more on one side than the other. I want the other side released and rolled under. Okay. Move into the right side. Roll that right shoulder forward, right elbow wide. Put your weight there. Left hand can come in closer to help push you over there if you want. Okay. Then drop the right hip forward as much as the knee goes forward. It's not really just the knee. It's actually that whole hip pelvic bowl coming forward away from the ribs.
Okay. You can heel toe your left foot out and keep it in a little bit to help you drop the knee. Or if you just want to go straight to the deeper stretch, you can cross that left ankle over the knee and very softly pull it further forward. Yep, good. You should feel that coming out of the psoas, even kind of wrapping around the rib cage. Yeah? Make sure your foot's not fighting you. The outer arch of that right foot should be lifted this year. Nice. How are we doing? If you can keep your neck back into the ball and almost push the ball back a little, your hip may go a little further forward. Good. And then release that. Let that go. Good. Unlock the foot. Roll it back up. Stay in the middle. Okay, let's drop the knees in toward each other. Just going to play with hips now. Just let your head rest. Okay, try to slide the right knee down the inside of the left shin, hip going forward, outer foot lifted. Good. Feel how your left psoas shortens a little so your right hip can go further forward. Feel that interplay between hips? Now pull back with your right low belly, but more than that, bring your left knee in. It almost displaces the right hip and pushes it back. Feel this come from the front of the hips, not the back. Then as your left knee drops, it slides inside the right shin, and the hip reaches forward as your right hip kind of shortens back a little bit. Good. Feeling this? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay, then when you're going to bring it back up, think about the right hip almost reaching forward, left low belly coming back, right hip sort of displaces the left. And now the right psoas is long and your left psoas is a little short. Good. Feel this coming from the front of the hips as we roll through the hips. Left knee in, starting to displace the right low belly, right hip, and then left hip drops forward, outer foot lifting. Good. You guys getting this rolling through the hips?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more. You go at your own pace. If you want to go faster, you can. If you want to go slower, you can. Your pelvic bowl should drop back in between now. As you come through center, your pelvic bowl should be dropped toward the mat. Okay, so this is pelvic bowl back, right? Toward the mat. All right, good. Okay, and then come on up. How are we doing? Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and move the ball aside just for the moment. Or actually, you can keep it if you know you're tight. Mine's not going to do anything, but if you know you're tight in the hips, you can keep the ball there and come to Baddha Konasana and let the ball kind of help push the back forward. Okay. And then see if you can start, if this is already a stretch for you, this may be where you're going to live. If it's not, come forward off the ball and try to bring elbows in front of the shin. Pull back on the shins a little bit from the serratus and extend your spine long and forward. Almost go forward and up. Think of your top 4 ribs being open and forward. Breathe. If this is easy, you can open elbows, put the forehead on the hands. Okay, everybody try this if you haven't. Feel your feet trying to press the mat forward, rolling sitting bones under you and making your lumbar spine round a little bit. Lift the pelvic floor, your Mula Bandha. And then don't let that go. Push Mula Bandha out. I guess it's not Bandha anymore because that's a lock up, but push down. Think of a chakra work where you're rooting down through pelvic floor, trying to press out on pelvic floor. It's different. It'll open your hips a little differently. Then press feet forward on the mat. Lift Mula Bandha. Lift Kegel muscle, pelvic floor. Drop head. Drop shoulders. Then go the other way. Pull back with your elbows on either the shins or the mat. Push the pelvic floor out as your ribs come forward. One more time, feet push the mat forward, pelvic floor lifting. Shoulders can shrug a little bit from that collarbone or chest area, then pull back, like the opposite of Mula Bandha, chakra work, pushing pelvic floor out, and then roll it up. Good. How are we doing? Yeah? All right, let's turn around, face your ball. You're going to bring the ball pretty much off the back of the mat. If you want to grab your knee pads, you can. You actually don't need your purple balls there. Yeah, I'm fine. We're going to do the purple ball thing. You have time. Come back. One more thing here. Come back with me. Grab your purple balls. Line up with the lower back, step to the ball. It doesn't have to be as low. We're not going to round forward anymore. Just step to your ball again. Okay, hold on to your purple balls. If you know you're really kind of weak or tight in the chest or shoulders, maybe you don't use both balls, or maybe you don't use the balls, maybe you don't add this little bit of weight. Okay. You're going to keep the balls close to your chest. Keep your elbows hugged in and down so your shoulder blades drop and your chest is a little hollow, sternum a little hollowed back
arms forward. But press your feet to roll back until you can lay your head and let it be supported. And press your hands straight up. Once your hands go straight up to the ceiling, above your head, or kind of above your neck, I guess, your neck should, the back of the neck, you should be able to flatten and elongate on your ball a little bit more. So your neck, head and neck are supported. Okay, from here, see if you can take your arms straight out to the sides about ear height. Feel that stretch across your chest. Keep your hips released, no tucking here. Hips should be dropped. Then bring it back up. You can bend the elbows a little if you need to, but elbow tips would face the floor if they're bent. Pull from chest, biceps. Bring it all the way up. Once you're at the top, the balls touch, the hips hang. Really let hips go. Now drop your balls straight back slowly, really slowly. Serratus resisting descent. As the balls come back a little, you should be able to flatten your neck a little longer into your ball. Let your hips drop forward as the balls drop back. Then you're going to pull back up from serratus, from underneath the armpits to bring the arms up. Once they're right above, basically the neck or the chin, or the face, you're going to bring your hands out to the sides. So I guess that's about ear height, jaw height. Bring it back up slow. Chest, biceps. As you do that, drop your hips more. Keep hips dropping. When the balls touch, let them drop all the way back. Chin down, neck long, hips dropping, spine wrapping around your ball. Okay? And then slowly drag up from underneath. Feel your serratus. Keep your hips dropped. Good. Okay, we're going to change it up a little bit. You're going to drop your balls back again slowly. As the balls drop back, bend your knees and drop your hips more toward the floor. Do not lift your head. You can go all the way till hips touch if you want. Then you're going to push your feet, roll back on your ball, and then when you're about at the top, pull from underneath the armpits from serratus to bring the arms up. Arms up as you roll the big ball back. Okay, now start dropping the buttocks to the floor, hips dropping toward the mat, rolling forward on your ball to sit on the floor. The arms drop back as the hips drop forward. So you're opening everything up. Good. And then pressing the feet a little bit, rolling back, pull from serratus. Feel that head and neck hang off the back of the ball as you roll back further. Okay. And then bend the knees, start letting hips hang, and then arms hang. So you should really feel a spine wrapping around the ball field. Okay, you guys getting this? One more time, pressure in your feet. Once the head starts hanging back, then pull from serratus and feel how your cervical spine gets lighter, hangs back more. Maybe the top of the head even touches the floor. Okay, then bend the knees as hips drop, reach the pubic bone to the floor. Low belly spreading. Good. When you're all the way forward, bring arms out to the side. Let them drop down. If you only have one ball, drop it. And then bring your head back up. How are we done?
Great.
Yeah? Alright, here are your balls. More we can do there, but we'll move on. Okay, bring your mat. You can, get close. Bring your, not your mat. That's good. Bring your mat where it is. Bring your ball to the end of the mat. If you have a really long mat, you've got a lot of room. If your mat's not that long, you can grab the pads if you want to kneel on. Behind your mat. Then you're going to try to bring your rib cage open, flare the ribs almost, and come as far up and over the ball as you possibly can. Really elongating the ribs, drop the head. Your ball should be right on the edge of your mat. Okay. Yeah, so you've got enough mat in front of you because we're going to roll forward on the ball a little bit. Once you're there, let's just open the knees a little, drop the head. Keeping elbows on the ground, pull back on the mat to roll forward a little bit, keep the top of the feet touching, and the knees can lift. And then roll back. Feel how the ball can help pull your ribs out of the shoulder blades if you keep elbows down as you roll back. Then roll forward, just warming up, come toward the head, maybe you can touch. And then roll back. Keep your spine soft, hips release. If you're real loose, you can open the knees. So your spine can hang. Last one, roll forward. Touch the top of the head to the mat. Bring your legs in like plank. Tuck your toes like plank position in the low body. And try to press with toes to roll further toward the back of the head. Lift shoulders up away from the ears, release hips. And then roll back, bending knees. Your head will come off the mat, knees dig into the ball. One more time, head to the floor. Press with toes to
to roll more toward the back of the head. Bend the knees, bring it up. All right, Ken. Go ahead and come forward on your hands. Your hands are going to be about mat width, and let's practice what we did earlier. Lift your wrists. Good. You got most of your body weight supported in this plank position. You're on your ball. Groin muscles are together. The front ribs may be just coming off the front of the ball. Feet are on the floor still. Touch the feet down, touch the feet down, touch the feet down. Stability. No bulldog arms. Keep those hands, elbows hugged in as your wrists come forward. And then slowly lower back down. Good. Yep. You want to take weight out of it, do what she's doing. Let your ribs drop more. And just from here. That's fine. Elbows right behind the wrist.